Welcome, everybody. I'm proud to be here today to introduce Chief Danielle Outlaw, my selection to become the next chief of the Portland Police Bureau. Chief Outlaw is a 19-year veteran of the Oakland Police Department, where she has served as a deputy chief since 2013. During the selection process, I emphasized the qualities I want in a police chief. I selected Chief Outlaw based on her ability to provide leadership and supervision to 950 sworn and 270 non-sworn employees of the Bureau, work effectively with diverse communities, and lead an organization committed to 21st century policing, transparency, and accountability. Chief Outlaw and I have shared dedication to improving relationships with Portland's communities of color, increasing diversity, and embracing equity. I believe she'll be a strong partner to me as this community's mayor. I believe she'll be a strong leader for the Portland Police Bureau. I'm impressed with her passion for this work, and I believe she'll be in it for the long haul. I want to thank Mike Marshman, who served this Bureau with distinction for many years. I have the highest respect for him as a leader and as a person. I want to thank Chris Uehara for taking on the role of acting chief while we work to onboard Chief Outlaw. Chief Outlaw has a very busy schedule today, as I'm sure you all understand. She's already met with the entire mayoral staff. She's met with the assistant chiefs. This afternoon, she'll meet with union leadership, the heads of other emergency bureaus, and with some members of the community who are invested in her success. Timing permitting, we're also hoping to introduce her to my colleagues on the Portland City Council. We understand that there are many, many more meetings to do, and I know that the media would like additional opportunities to meet with Chief Outlaw. We'll make every effort to get her here again soon. I believe the success of this community, the success of this Bureau, and the success of all of us in this community are tied to Chief Outlaw's success. She has the full backing of my administration. I know that the professionals of the Portland Police Bureau will work hard to help her succeed as the chief of this bureau. And I believe the community will welcome her with open arms and support her work. Please welcome Danielle Outlaw.
Thank you, everyone, for being here this afternoon to welcome me and to actually, I think, a lot of curiosity. I got met coming off of the airplane by media. It's always great to see. But I know a lot of people wanted to see a body with the picture and the face. Yes, I am real, and this is me up close and personal. Thank you, Mayor Wheeler, for the opportunity to be a part of such an amazing team. I want to first acknowledge all of the Portland Police Bureau people in the room. Thank you for being here. I know part of it you probably want to know who I am and what I'm about. We'll have plenty of time for that, but I do appreciate your presence in being here today. And a lot of what we'll be talking about, whether it's at future press conferences, roll calls, I want you to first know that anything that we discuss can't be done without you, because you are the ones that are doing the work. And I want you to know that I value you, I recognize you, and I acknowledge you, and I look forward to our partnership moving forward in the upcoming years. A lot of people want to know, well, why now? Why are you coming to Portland, Danielle? And I think it's important to draw that there are a lot of similarities from where I come from and here in Portland. same issues as a lot of policing agencies deal with throughout the country, but these are very unique. And I've been approached by many recruiters over the years asking to put in for chief's positions. And for me, it's not about just having a title of police chief. It's about being able to go somewhere and add value to the communities, to the organization, and being able to walk away leaving that organization a lot stronger than what it was before. I want to make it very clear, I'm not here to, I don't want to say reform, I'm here to strengthen the good work that's already been done here from the police department and the members within the department. But of course, I also have a job to do. I have a job to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable. We're accountable to the community. And if there's any areas of vulnerability or gaps identified, that's what my job is as a leader, to make sure that I come in and strengthen that and improve that. So with that said, I'm extremely excited about the opportunities here. I'm excited about the partnerships. My focuses will also be, obviously, we're a crime enforcement agency. It's crime prevention and reduction. It's also prioritizing our relationships with the community, those that are already there, and improving upon those. And it's making sure that the rank and file of the police department have what they need, whether that's training, resources, just doing what I can as a leader to be an advocate and to make sure that our officers are who they need to be as a whole. And that also addresses well-being. It addresses, again, everything from training and resources as well. I'm not going to go into a long diatribe. We have a long time to do that, but I again want to acknowledge and thank everyone for being here. I look forward to everyone's partnerships and collaborations. And if you have any questions, are we opening up for questions at this point? I'm going to let you facilitate this. I'll be more than happy to take a few.
All right, questions? Maxine?
There's been a lot of talk about...
Do you mind? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want to get to know you. So can you say who you are and where you're from?
Sure. I'm Max Bernstein. I'm a reporter for the Oregonian.
Nice to meet you.
Been covering the police bureau for a while.
Okay.
There's been a lot of talk in the search for chief about commitment to 21st century policing, and you've described yourself as a progressive police leader. What does that mean to you?
That's a loaded question, but not really. It means that as an organization, it's important to make sure that we're not only in alignment with best practices, but to raise the bar. So, and I speak a lot from experience. When many years ago, we used to ask, well, who else in the country does this? We're being asked to do these things and no one else does it. We don't have anyone to benchmark against. And once the light bulb clicked on that, hey, you know what, you are setting the standard, that really opened us up to being the best agency in the state, right? And this is obviously what I think we can be as a bureau. And in the country, we can lead and be ahead of what's already been done. We're far beyond, no one else does that. So 21st century policing is not just doing what everyone else does and best practices, it's setting the bar and being the best.
Chief Bob High with K2, how do you view the group Black Lives Matter and...
Excuse me, sorry, I'll get back to you. Jamie, you have a question?
Yes, hi, welcome Chief.
Thank you.
Wilson with Fox 12. Portland police have been dealing with a lot of complaints and issues in recent years with use of force and the training that is involved with that when dealing with protesters or mentally challenged folks in the community. How does your experience help you to examine that in a fresh way and mitigate those issues?
It's actually ironic that you asked that question. I just shared a story with the command staff here. I have a lot of lessons on what not to do. But with that said, again, I obviously I come from Oakland and I have a lot of experience in dealing with crowd management with these things, what works really well, and again, what doesn't work well, how our actions inflame the situation or can inflame the situation, and what we could do to be more collaborative, but also having a presence and setting the tone very soon in advance. So it's all about balance. Again, these issues that you just mentioned aren't anything new to any police agency in this country. It might be a little bit more familiar for some of us than others, but I'm confident that I can bring a lot of my experience from what I've done in my past organization here as well.
Nick?
Hi, Nick Budnick, Portland Tribune newspaper.
Hi, Nick.
Uh-huh. I'm curious, this was obviously a big step for you.
Yes.
In making this step, why did you want your application to be confidential? Did you face potentially being fired for that or for recrimination? And when your name came out anyway in the press, did that cause repercussions?
No, and I appreciate you asking that question because I know a lot of people wanted to know. It by no means, it was not an attempt to me or on my part to be non-transparent, but I think for those of us, and a lot of us in the room know this, when you put yourself out there as a chief's candidate, you're really exposing yourself to a lot. You're exposing yourself to scrutiny, personally, professionally, and that's, you know, up until a certain part of the process, the expectation is, depending on the agency, that there is some confidentiality. But at some point, and I was prepared for this, at some point, when the city tells you, okay, heads up, we're going to release your name, that's something that we have to prepare for. For me, given that I was still actively working in my current organization, I didn't want a lot of distractions. My chief was very supportive. She knew what I was doing, but I didn't need the distractions in my professional life, and I didn't want my family to be distracted by what was going on here as well.
So you wanted it to be...
And I haven't faced any repercussions once my name was leaked.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Bob, I would K2. How do you see the group Black Lives Matter and some of the people who are still suspicious about the organization and the need for reform, and what's your approach going forward?
You say, how do I see? Are you asking for my opinion on the organization? I value perspective, I value diversity, and people come out and organize and they demonstrate because there's something there, right, in their mind, whatever that is. Whether I agree or disagree, that's their truth, and it can be Black Lives Matter or whomever. As long as it's done in a lawful way, no one gets hurt, it's not violent, I think people have a right to demonstrate and have a right to do it in a very peaceful way. But again, you know, our role is to protect First Amendment rights, but we also have a job to do as well. So I don't really have an opinion or a negative opinion either way because people come from their places of truth. But at the same time, I think it's very important as an organization that we have to be willing to hear things that we might not want to hear. There has to be a checks and balances system, and again, that's the only way we improve as an agency.
Maggie?
Maggie Vesco with KGW, it's the NBC affiliate here. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's been written up in the last day or so here in Portland media about your defense of maintaining the memorandum of understanding between the City of Oakland and Homeland Security investigations. Portland's being deemed a sanctuary city is it's a hot button issue for a lot of Portlanders, no matter how they feel about it here. What would you say about kind of your impression of the interpretation of your defense of that? A lot of people thought that meant that you didn't support the sanctuary city status, and what do you want Portlanders to know about that moving forward?
I actually appreciate you asking that question because just the way it was phrased, I didn't defend the MOU. I want to be clear, and what I did was I clarified our role, our working partnership with HSI operationally. So I wanted the people in the room to know exactly what it is that OPD does with HSI. I wanted it to be clear that Oakland is also a sanctuary city and that we did not enforce and do not enforce federal immigration laws. That was first and foremost. But the other part of that was for me to educate on what exactly we did do. So what the MOU did was allow overtime reimbursement and to allow officers to be deputized so we can charge at the federal level. That was it. And quite frankly, we hadn't even really done any of that. We hadn't enforced the MOU at all, and it had been about a year. But my purpose in stating how we worked with HSI, again, was to make it very clear to those in the room what our relationship was. So I'm glad you asked that. It was not in defense of the MOU. It was actually a rather neutral statement, and it was done solely to educate.
We'll take one more question, Lisa.
Hi, Chief. Lisa Balick with Coin, the CBS station in Portland.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you again. Big issue here in Portland is racial equity. Clearly a big issue in Oakland as well. How do you see yourself as an African-American woman being able to really make some inroads in that area here in Portland, both as well as an African-American woman and as somebody who's not from here?
I anticipated that question, and you know, I've been asked that question in a few different ways. How do you feel being in the first African-American female chief? And first, I'd like to say I would really hope that it was my qualifications that got me here. Actually, I know that's what got me here. And then it just so happens to be that I'm an African-American female. But with that said, I realize that I wear many hats and I represent a lot of things to many people. And because of that, there's an added responsibility and expectation placed on me. And I own that. And whatever I could do within my realm of influence, and we don't have to all look like me in order to achieve the same goal. You know, anyone standing up here can, you know, adhere to the same values. But I understand, you know, just because of what I look like and who I am, what the expectations are. But I'm willing to use whatever. I'm sorry, my phone is ringing. I had it up here for my notes and I couldn't pull it up, but then it just started vibrating and it's somebody's mic. Anyway, all of that to say, I understand that there's an expectation there. I think it can be beneficial, but I want people to see me for Danielle and not just the African American female that's the first, you know, in Portland. I'm an outsider, but something about me is that I have no problem with saying I don't know what I don't know. So I'm relying upon a lot of the men and women in this organization to give me direction and guidance of the lay of the land. You know, culture doesn't just happen overnight. And in order to understand any culture, you got to find out what it is first, right? So a lot of this, my first, you know, as soon as I hit the ground, I'm going to be learning what makes the Portland Police Bureau the Portland Police Bureau. If the issues within the community are trust and lack of legitimacy, say, for example, if that's the case, my question is why, right? So I think there's a lot of things that can be done by anyone standing up here to improve these relationships, but I also acknowledge that because of who I am, there's an added expectation, and I'm okay with that.
Thank you, everyone, for your time and for your questions today. If you have any follow-ups, please get in touch with me. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.